यहाँ #1 रहना एक जरूरत है। ये जंग जीतना हर एक टीम का सपना है और इस सपने को पाने के लिए ये अपना सब कुछ दांव पर लगाने को तैयार है। Pakistan is ready for the ultimate action.
Hello everyone, welcome to PUBG Mobile Pakistan Pro League for 2022, week number 3 and day number 2. My name is Shadow and joining me is Lakshay. And Lakshay, how are you feeling right now?
Well, doing pretty good. Definitely looking forward to what this week has to offer from all these teams. But at the same time, of course, the expectations are a lot, but we'll have to see what the teams are going to be able to do in the battleground.
We'll certainly have to see, because day number 1 was completely different. All the bottom teams of week 1 and week number 2, they were suddenly performing out of the box and no one expected them to come on the top and get a winner with chicken dinner also in there, especially 52 Esports. We didn't expect it all. So what are your thoughts on day number 2? Do you think that's going to happen on day number 2, or the top teams will claim their throne again?
Well, again, I think it's going to be a mixed bag today, because again, we know for a fact that the teams that are performing and have been performing continuously are going to be able to rise up again. But at the similar time, what we've seen from the Pakistan lobby in PMPL for now, of course, 2022, is the fact that there's always a little bit of a change that can be anticipated in terms of how these teams are going to be playing in the battleground. But of course, they know what they are fighting for. They know exactly what is on the line, and they want to be able to, of course, not only move on into the grand finals, but more so work towards that perfect opportunity where, of course, only 6 teams will move on forth for the SA Championship.
Certainly. And what are these teams fighting for? It's the moolah, the prize money. It is going to be $100,000 over their total prize money. First place will get $10,000, second will get $6,500, third will get $4,500. Even the 16th team is going to get $1,000 over there. So that means every single team is getting something out there. Even the MVP is going to get $1,000 for himself. But in the league stage, each team is going to get $2,500.
Absolutely. Now, of course, we know for a fact that these teams are working towards being a part of that grand finale, where, of course, only 16 teams from these 20 will move forth. But for all of that to work out for them, they need to be able to, of course, get those points. And the way they can get those points, of course, you walk away with the chicken dinner, you already are going to be contributing towards the 15 points that are yours. Alongside that, what we know for a fact is elimination points. Every single elimination that you're able to get will award you with 1 point, and that becomes critical right now, because we know when it comes to the Pakistani teams, they're all very aggressive, and that is where we've actually seen the teams walking out of the lobby at the 12th position, at 10th position, but the majority of the points that they accumulate is based on the elimination.
Even the same position team sometimes gets some points because they are getting defeat points. Freestyle did yesterday in the map of Sanhok. But talking about the bonus point, weekly bonus are going to be awarded each week for weekly ranking, and the league bonus points are going to be awarded for league ranking. So there are chances of owning those bonus points, and how these points are there. The rank one is going to get 20 points, second position will get 19 points, third will get 18, fourth will get 17. These are the crucial points. They keep on reducing, and even the 20th spot team is going to get 1 point.
Absolutely. Now, talking about these bonus points, now this is where things do change a little bit when it comes down to the way things are being organized, and in terms of how the format is being structured moving on forth from 2022, this season itself, where we, of course, are talking about bonus points which are all majorly focused towards that Livik map. Now, of course, we have seen in the past 2 weeks individual teams participate in that Livik map, but today, or rather this week, being the final one before we move into the grand finale itself, once again it becomes critical, because the teams that participate in the Livik map and the points they are able to walk away with are the ones that will help them out in the grand finale, where they start things off in week number 4.
Well, certainly, because Livik is the surprising X factor in the tournament right now, because every single team, they don't have a read onto each other. They have no information how the other team is going to perform. The map of Leavik and the size of Leavik 2v2 makes things very interesting. But talking of the groups, Group A, we have Magnus Esports. The consistent performance that is coming from their side is definitely very impressive. Then we have Team Star, Team BABLU, and 52 Esports. In Group B, we have Quraysh Esports, TmwEsports. Well, TmwEsports, the split is not working for them, especially yesterday. It wasn't working in either of them. But H2E, TmW are also there. Group C, we have I8, Metershot Sky, R3D Esports. Group D, we have Quantum Rage, Grounders, Regicide, and 3X. But talking about the overall ranking, well, Quraysh Esports, they are on the top with 56 points right now.
Absolutely, and along with that, we can see that when it comes down to a big push and jump being created from these teams, we have the possibility of course, freestyle perhaps by the end of the day, moving all the way up to the top. Because look at that, 12 position jump is what they were able to accumulate with that chicken dinner game. But at the same time, of course, there will be an equal opportunity provided to all the other teams as well, because the fight, it definitely carries on forth. And this being the first page itself, the more conversation will be faced as to what the teams are doing on the lower half of this leaderboard.
Certainly, and a name which everyone is surprised to see in the lower half is I8 Esports. They're sitting on the 18th spot. No one expected. Even BABLU, they're sitting on the 20th spot with only 13 points to themselves. This is something very surprising coming from both these teams. In fact, Quraysh Esports also, the way they made a jump after the one bad game, week number 1, they started improving, and right now Quraysh, they're sitting on the 16th spot with what, 19 points only?
Exactly. Now, this is something that nobody anticipated, of course, as you perfectly mentioned, Shadow. But at the same time, this is what week 3 is looking forward towards. At the same time, as you perfectly questioned, can there be a chance? Can there be a change that we can anticipate from these teams in this week 3? Can we definitely expect the teams that are not looking so good, being on the latter half of the leaderboard, to be able to jump up today? Well, again, fingers crossed definitely for the same. But yeah, it is going to be a tough competition for these teams as well, because we've got big names like I8, we've got BABLU right down there, and of course, as you perfectly mentioned, T20 Quraysh sitting at that position with only 19 points. Not looking good for them right now, but hopefully today is going to be a special day. Hopefully things might change for them. We'll have to see.
Certainly, everyone who is a fan of I8 Esports, even a fan of BABLU, they are waiting for the team to do a comeback and come on the first page. Even Quantum Rage, I'm surprised to see them sitting on the 11th spot, because Quantum Rage was also pretty consistent in week number 2. But talking about 52 Esports, this team impressed everyone. When everyone lost the hopes, 52 Esports comes in and takes a big win in the second match or the third match, I think. It was the second, I think. They took a win, and Daku with 22 elimination, along with his teammates also having 22 elimination and 18 elimination. And OP getting 19. Firo and Pain are also no less. 152 Esports, well, expectation bar is again rising.
Oh, definitely. With the 2 chicken dinner winner games that they were able to showcase, it was looking fantabulous from the side of 52 Esports, as well as the fans, I'm sure, are going to be elated as to what sort of an example the side of 52 Esports have been able to put up and showcase to the entirety of the lobby. But at the same time, again, this being a very critical day right now, because of course this is the final week before we jump into the grand final itself, for which of course we are keeping expectations high from all the other teams in the lobby as well. But at the same time, again, you talk about a rise, you talk about a comeback story, you talk about a team that from the starting has been trying to build up those numbers, and now finally, when it matters the most in week 3, they are proving their mettle, they're proving their worth, and that of course is 52 Esports.
Certainly, 52 gave all tooth and nail, and finally they are reaping the benefits. But the question isn't it too late? Because it's week number 3, the matches are very numbered, and coming in the top 6 or the top 12 is not going to be so easy for 52 Esports. But yet they are not giving up. This is the thing I appreciate about a team. Even though this is a lost cause, still they are fighting for the big win. And they are proving deserve to be here, and they are the champions. They need to be intimidated and feared, and that is why 52 Esports yesterday, phenomenal performance came from their side. But fingers crossed, I hope they keep up the same momentum in day number 2 also.
Absolutely, of course. Fingers crossed, like you so perfectly mentioned, of course. From the side of this team, definitely we want the performance to keep on improving. We want the momentum that they've already got going on for themselves to keep on increasing with that same exact force. At the same time, we want to be able to see a comeback story from the side of teams sitting on the latter half of that leaderboard, where, of course, we've got big names sitting out there. But can they do so today? Because after all, when it comes down to this, as you perfectly mentioned, is week number 3. Now, if those teams are not able to bring back their storyline for themselves, then it is going to be a very difficult conversion, because then after is going to be the grand finals.
But do you think Esports, despite having bad performance, they won't be able to maintain the top spot? Yes, they have taken a bit downfall. They're sitting on the second spot in the overall ranking right now. But I don't think any team can throw them out of the top 5 position because of the performance
True.
they delivered in week number 1, getting more than 300 points. Do you think they are saving all the stats for the final?
It is definitely a possibility. It is definitely going to be a question that the other teams in the lobby are probably going to be thinking about, because again, you talk about consistency. You've got a couple of teams who've been so consistent throughout in terms of the way that they're performing, in terms of the way that they've been able to, stay in touch with everything that's going on based on week per week, day per day, and still keep a balanced approach in terms of the way that they approach those battleground games. Now, this is where I want to bring up teams like, for example, Magnus, right? Because of course, you know for a fact that when it comes down to Magnus, this is a team that has always, pretty much, I will say, has been ready to deal with the amount of commotion that's been going on within the teams in the lobby, and when you talk about the 20 teams. But again, talking about the comparison in terms of how Magnus is keeping that up, we've got it clearly visible in front of us, where you talk about week 2 day 1 performance compared to, of course, yesterday, which was, of course, week 3 day number 1. It is a big jump from the way that they are, of course, getting those knocks, from the way that they've been able to deal the damage in the lobby itself, and that is the consistency which puts them on that second position in the overall ranking.
Certainly, Magnus has been consistent, pretty consistent. Week number 1 and week number 2, I think Magnus Esports is the only team that has been consistent. With a few of the teams certainly have few bad games, few bad for themselves. I8 was dominating on week number 1, week number 2. They started fizzling out, and that is continuing in week number 3 as well. So Magnus, yes, they are consistent, but at the same time, they are also revealing all the strats, planning, and whatever they can come up with. Everything has already been revealed. Do you think that's going to help their case in the finals?
Oh, I don't think so. Because yes, you're absolutely correct when it comes down to strategic planning of how you want to be a part of the battleground. Definitely, they've given out all the outcomes, but at the same point in time, Magnus, of course, will always have an upper hand in terms of how they approach those fights. Now, they've taken those fights against the best of the best in the lobby, and they have been able to again and again bring in those consistent plays. That is something that, of course, will go for them, will go in their favor. But at the same time, we'll have to see what the other teams can do. Yes, you perfectly mentioned that the other teams might and should have already seen as to what Magnus is doing in terms of their rotations, in terms of how they're approaching those fights, in terms of how lackluster. At the same time, when it comes down to taking those fights, Magnus is always there. The other teams are the ones who are going to have to answer that exact same question.
Same time, the other teams have an opportunity to come up with a different strat, or come up with something out of the box and dominate the lobby, because no one is focusing on them. To esports, no one is trying to read their gameplay right now, because they are in later half. Teams try and ignore you for a fact, because they are competing with the big dog names who are sitting on the leaderboard, top of leaderboard. So you have an advantage that other teams are not focusing on you right now. So maybe
True.
in the final, in this particular week when it matters the most, can come up with something entirely new and be the top dogs right now.
Well, again, definitely, that is what the expectation is from the fans, as well as when it comes down to the teams that are underperforming. But there's only so much that you can do. In the end, it all falls down to how the zone is going to be, and how your rotation is going to be, and how are you able to convert all of that information into a good game, which we know for a fact is not an easy task. For these teams, we know are the best of the best in the country, but at the same time, it is going to be a very tough conversion, because after all, as you perfectly mentioned, this being week 3, before we jump into the grand finale itself, this week is going to be the most important one in, of course, this PMPL right here.
Well, certainly, as you spoke circles also yesterday, we did witness some crazy circles and teams were trying to squeeze inside the center of the circle. This is something we didn't
True.
witness at all in week number 1. But right now, every single team is trying to hold that center of the circle from the very get-go of the game. And whichever team maintains to do so till the end, they have an advantage, and they are the one. They were the one getting bit yesterday. But talking about the overall ranking, well, Magnus, they are still on the top with 592 points.
Well, again, there we have it. Magnus Esports with 8 chicken dinners of their own. Now, of course, following them very closely is going to be I8 Esports, which in week number 1 was looking fabulous in terms of the way that they were approaching those things. But at the same time, again, after that is where the actual journey starts for the other teams, because there's still a lot of opportunity from the side of Quantum Rage all the way down to Team BABLU. They have an opportunity to be able to climb, because the points, there isn't much difference between them.
Certainly, between the 3rd and 10th spot, the point difference is not so much. Anything can happen. One good game, and you can be sitting on the 3rd spot. Like Freestyle, they took a jump of 2 points. They are sitting right now on the 7th spot with just one good game. But Freestyle, yesterday, it was not even a single game when they went with 0 points. Even they were the first team to get eliminated. They got 2 defeat points. When they were the second team to get eliminated, they managed to get at least 1 defeat point. So this is something every team needs to do. That at least in terms of placement or the defeat points, you are always getting something. But on the other side, the team that is still on the bottom is going to be TmwEsports 52, where they have finally started showcasing their real gameplay, and let's hope that continues. Even Triple Esports today, they had a pretty good outing.
Absolutely, of course, because when it comes down to the way that Triple Esports were able to play yesterday, they were looking very comfortable and confident in terms of the way the aggression was being showcased and the synergy was being showcased from the side of Triple Esports. But you asked this perfect question. Is it a bit too late? Now, in this overall ranking, we can clearly see Triple Esports sitting on that 18th position. On the 19th position, of course, is 52 Esports, and then following them, of course, is going to be TmW Esports on the 20th and the final position. Only 16 teams from here will move into the grand finale itself. There, for now, of course, we do have Metershot X Sky on that 16th position with 273 points. So you talk about those point difference itself. Yes, there is a little bit of a jump that needs to be showcased from the teams, mainly the teams that are from the 17th to the 20th in this overall ranking.
Certainly. But talking about 3x Esports, yesterday they were engaged in pretty bad fights, because of which they were taken pretty early in the game. So let's see if they have rectified it on day number 2. And talking about day number 2, let's have a look at the schedule. The 6th match is going to be Miramar, where Group E will be sitting out. Then we have Sanhok, then Miramar, then Erangel and Miramar. That means it is a day of 3 Miramars.
Absolutely. Today is going to be a very important day for these teams to take a back step, because again, when it comes down to the map of Miramar, we know for a fact that it is a very big map. So it allows the opportunity for the teams to be able to slow down their gameplay and of course take those fights very precautionary. At the same time, we also have seen that when it comes down to these teams taking those fights on the map of Miramar, it is also going to be focused on, well, those third parties that they're going to have to be worried about, they're going to have to be careful about. If they are caught out in the open, then we know that things are going to be very difficult for them to be able to convert that, especially for the teams that are sitting at the low half of that leaderboard. But we'll see how things go, because every single time that we start off the day, we are expecting the best, so are the teams. But in the battleground, the only thing that you need to worry about is where the zone is and how are you rotating and what time are you preparing your rotation to be for that zone.
Well, certainly yesterday playing with the team, not playing with the circle, definitely. But it is the time for the prediction, and which team you think is to dominate or get a win in this first map of Miramar?
Well, I would love to be able to see in week number 3, right here on day 2, TUF being the one that should be able to take charge of the way things have been. They started off really good in week number 1, and then they kind of fizzled down and have been falling constantly since then. This time around, I want to be able to see a different approach from their side.
Well, TUF, I think they can do so. I want to go with H2E also. But okay, Team Star, I think. Or maybe Team
All right.
Team Star. I'll pick with Team Star. Go with Team Star. Yeah.
Perfect. Again, you talk about Team Star, the way that they have been very synergistic in terms of how they take on those fights. At the same time, how I don't want to say laid back, but yes, they have a way and a function with which they're able to get into fights and walk out with those points for themselves. Now, Team Star has been able to do that. At the same time, we'll have to see if today it is going to be their day, especially in this first game or not.
Well, certainly, because Team Star, yes, I have few hope because it is Star is one of those teams that focus on the rotation. They always focus on their placement inside the circle. They never focus on those defeat points. It is in the final two circles that they start picking up those fights when they are very sure of the position inside the circle. So yes, with the way the circle is playing the games, Team Star, things might be in their favor.
Absolutely, I'd keep my fingers crossed, definitely, because again, when it comes down to this English test, we, of course, Fixers, we want the numbers right there in terms of the prediction game to go in your favor, especially, and therefore I will most definitely support your theory and hope that, of course, Team Star walks away with a chicken dinner in the upcoming game. But at the same time, it is going to be a lengthy day. We know that it is going to, of course, have 3 Miramar games that are going to be played. To start things off, as we saw the schedule, we're going to be starting off on Miramar and then move on down to Sanhok. But after that, of course, we will move on back. At the same time, on the map of Miramar, looking at how the leaderboard has been, especially in this week 3, I do want to be able to keep a little bit of a high opinion for Team BABLU as well as I8, who are sitting almost at the latter half of that leaderboard.
Certainly, Team I8 and Team BABLU, yes. I8, week number 2, they were not able to stick together. They were not playing arm in the arm. They were so scattered. They were getting picked off one after the other. Also, they tried. In the map of Miramar in Los Angeles, they went for a 2v2 spread. It didn't work in their favor. Next map of Miramar came in. They were sticking together in the city of the Los Angeles. Still, they were taken out despite going for a late rotation. So nothing's working for. They're crossing all the I's and dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's, but still nothing is working in their favor. So let's see what new is going to come from their side on day number 2.
Absolutely, like the question that you mentioned, right, for the side of 50 Esports or any other team for that matter, as to have all the strategies been showcased? Well, perhaps that question should be put up for I8, because week 1 they were looking flawless. They were looking absolutely pristine in terms of the way they were able to communicate and get those games working in their favor. But now, after week 1, as you perfectly mentioned right now itself, things have changed for them. Things have changed as to how, because the other teams in the lobby have understood what I8 is doing, and slowly but surely we see a little bit of a decline coming in terms of the performance of I8 itself. Now, that means that the other teams in the lobby are getting better and better. So perhaps the question should be, does I8 need to change their strategy? Does I8 need to do a little bit of a different story in terms of how they want to be approaching the battleground itself or not? Well, again, all these questions, Shadow, will continue on forth. But right now, it is time for us to go on that short little break before we jump into match number 1 for the day.
Hello everyone, welcome back to PUBG Mobile presents Pakistan Pro League Fall 2022. We are into already week number 3, day number 2, and we are very sorry for all the inconvenience caused to you guys. My name is Shadow, alongside me is Lakshay, and for all the technical difficulties, we are very sorry, but to maintain the integrity of the PMPL Pakistan, after all the consideration, we have decided that today's matches will be postponed until the further notice. We always wish to give the best experience to our viewers, players, and the fans. So, for more updates, you guys can follow us on the social media because that is where all the updates will be shared for the further updates.